Sometimes people think that when you do take action, the action has to be perfect.
Don't censor yourself. Sometimes the best ideas start and they're messy, they're kind of disheveled, you don't have it all thought out, they could be unclear. But once they're on paper and you can actually see it, then you have something to work with. Sometimes creativity can be sparked out of a need, or you saw something how you could do something better.
Don't wait on everything to be perfect, because sometimes when we're waiting on stuff to be perfect, we never get to it.
Welcome to Expertise Unleashed, where we help you unlock the full power of your expertise, amplify your voice, and create a legacy of influence and impact. I'm Brian.
And I'm Michelle, and today we're diving into the transformative journey of the many of us experience as creators, as entrepreneurs, as anyone pursuing a vision. And it's about turning that spark of inspiration into that tangible reality. So today's episode is entitled From Inspiration to Manifestation, Unleashing Your Creative Power.
And our purpose today is really simple but powerful. We're going to walk you through 4 stages: inspiration, documentation, application, and manifestation. So you can recognize, capture, and act on the creative energy when it hits you. And by the end, you'll have a roadmap for transforming your ideas into results.
Yeah. And the payoff, so it's the satisfaction of seeing your ideas actually come into life, of moving from thinking and dreaming, right, to building and achieving. So let's dive in. We're going to start with that initial spark, right? It's inspiration. Don't you just love, I love inspiration. I get inspired by stuff all the time. Yeah. As a matter of fact, Brad be like, Michelle, hold yourself back because you always inspired by something. And I know, I'm just kind of like, I'm like that.
Well, we all can identify that feeling, right? When something just clicks, you have that moment and suddenly, you're excited. You have ideas going off like bombs and bells in your head, in your mind. It's kind of like a sparkler on the 4th of July.
I love that. I'm like a sparkler on the 4th of July, but I think we all are to a certain degree. And I think that's the part that's like really important. It's like that sense of possibility, right? Like we all like possibility. And like, when you on the edge of something big, right? When you wanting to do something, I think that's the part, that inspiration is where your actual enthusiasm connects with your purpose.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's the part that's really key. And so it is, that's where that energy, it generates that energy that drives you to actually think, like to create and imagine what all those possibilities really are.
Yes. And inspiration is, that raw power, that initial jolt when your mind is suddenly alive, with new ideas and perspectives. For some, it happens in quiet moments, like me. I like being by myself. Like our pastor says, he's been talking about how men like to isolate.
Yeah.
We come in, we go to our room, but a lot of times that's when I draw ideas, and for others, it's in the middle of a brainstorm, could be a conversation, or even when scrolling through social media, you never know where inspiration will hit, and it can come from anywhere. But there is a method to this madness that we're going to get into today when inspiration does hit.
Yeah. And you know what? The other thing about inspiration is it can be contagious, right?
Yes.
Like it's infectious. Like Brown might say something and it'll spark something, or you, just like you were saying, like it'll, when you scrolling through social media, you'll see somebody will say something, or our pastor is like always dropping gems on stuff that he's sharing. And you'll get something from it. It'll spark something in you, and it's contagious, so it'll capture you. And the more enthusiastic you are, right, the more around you, the others around you, they start to feel it too. And that's that contagiousness, right? And then the other thing that starts to happen is it might start contributing to the ideas of other people. And when that happens, it's like, Brian hit me with something. It's almost like, remember how, back in the days you do this, like, here, did I give it to you, and then you take it and you run with it and you get something. And that's the thing about that inspiration and that energy, that excitement. Those ideas get sparked, that inspiration it goes from one person to the next, and you want to keep that energy flowing. And that's the good part about energy. Is like it's contagious. It keeps going and it keeps flowing, and it's like all kind of ideas just keep brimming and popping up.
Right, but here's the key now. Inspiration does not last forever.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So when it strikes, it is absolutely crucial to capture it before it fades away.
Yeah.
We've all had that, man, I should have wrote that down, or I'm gonna remember it, and I'll get to it later, and later never comes. It's gone. You won't think of it again. So we don't want anybody to be in that situation.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads us into our next section.
Yeah, that next piece is documentation. Now, I am a huge proponent of writing things down. Huge. Like, that's a big piece. Like, when it hits you, write it down right then, right? Whether you pull it up out of your phone and you pull your phone out and you type it in, whether you are, if you even sleep, how like you'll get up, and a lot of people will say that they keep like a little notepad and a pen right next to their nightstand at night. Do that seriously. Like, I literally, as a matter of fact, Brian was looking for a notebook just the other day. Like, if I took you into our office, I had so many notebooks. He was like, I said, yeah, I got some. He asked me for a notebook. And I was like, yeah, just a regular notebook, how you buy for kids, when it's time for them to go back to school. They 19 cents or 25 cents or whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, I got some back there in the office up on the shelf. And he was like, Michelle, all of these are written in. And I was like, all of them? I was like, well, let me come in there and let me check and see. All of them were written in. I had to go and buy another set of notebooks. But here's the thing, write that stuff down. If you get an idea, write it down, whether it's a notebook, a journal, however you catch it. For some people, they may not be good at writing stuff down. Maybe for you that person, pull out the Otter app. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter where you document it or how you document it, just document it.
Yes, please document. And another thing too is, don't censor yourself. Sometimes the best ideas start and they're messy, they're kind of disheveled, you don't have it all thought out, they could be unclear thoughts. But once they're on paper and you can actually see it, then you have something to work with. So you can refine and build on them once you get them down, but the important thing is to get them down. Documentation is the bridge from inspiration to action. So if you don't have it down, you can't run with it. It's just like Habakkuk 2, where he says, write the vision and make it plain so he that reads it can run with it. And for us personally, we have to write things down so we won't forget. So the things that we want to do, I have a basis for where to work from, and then I can begin to put some things into action, but you have to document first.
Yeah. You know what? And documentation is critical. And so just like Brian said, that next piece after you have documented, whatever tool you use to document, that's going to move you into application, right? Like, that's that next step. It is the action. It's the phase that you go from planning to actual doing. Action is required. Now, this is where things like really get real. This is where you really get real. You putting stuff, you moving it from one thing to the other, where we're actively making things happen.
Yes.
And go ahead. I'm gonna let you take it away.
Oh no. I'm just saying this is where your ideas and your documentation begin to turn into tasks and actionable items. Those tasks turn into steps, small steps you need to, but just start. You have it, you got the inspiration, you have it down. Now you can just start taking action, and it will start small because we don't know everything. You may know about what it is that you're good at, But as far as building something on top of it, that takes time. So the important thing is to take meaningful action, implement the ideas, even if it's one step at a time.
Yeah. You know what? I like this part because this is that piece that I like to talk to people about, because sometimes people think that when you do take action, the action has to be perfect.
Or massive.
Yeah. And it doesn't. And you don't wait on everything to be perfect. Don't wait on everything to be perfect, because sometimes when we're waiting on stuff to be perfect, we never get to it. And getting to it is the piece that's the most important. And so application is often messy. I like messy. It's iterative, just meaning that, you do something and then you might have to do something else, right? You might have to do something else after you do that. And so it's a process. And just know that process is okay, because as long as you are doing something in the process, you're actually doing something. It's when we're sitting and not doing anything that nothing ever actually comes to fruition. So remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to actually be doing something, right? And so you learn as you go, you adjust, and you just keep moving things forward. And don't be bothered by the fact that it's not perfect.
Yes.
Just go.
Yeah, it's in the application phase where things start to feel tangible, where
yeah,
it's another level of excitement comes, because it's like, okay, I started this process, I had an idea, I wrote it down. Now things are starting to move, and you're starting to feel real, so you're setting things up, you're making phone calls, gathering resources, whatever it is, and it looks like for you, all the practical steps that bring your ideas to life. So each action brings you closer to realizing the vision that you have set for yourself. So, like you said before, don't worry about how big or small it is, and don't worry about the result. Just start moving, start applying, those things that, you know to do, or things you don't even know to do that you'll find out to do. Just start walking.
Yeah. So we've got inspired. So we got some inspiration, right? And then we talked about, all right, what we got inspired about, we done put some documentation to it. We done wrote it down. And then we done put some application to it. So we're moving. And now what happens then? We start to see some manifestation.
Yes.
And that's critical, because when you start to actually see a powerful approach to this is, before we move away from application, one of the powerful approaches to that is consistency. Like when we are applying, we're actually making some application to the things that we're doing. Consistency over perfection. Consistency over that perfection. Taking one action every day, doing something every day, tackling a task every day, big or small, is key. Just keep doing something. The act of actually taking a step, doing something, moving it forward daily builds that momentum that gets us closer to that manifestation. Okay, so now let me do the recap. So we done got our inspiration, then our documentation, then our application leads us where, Brian?
Now we manifestation.
All right.
So with manifestation, the payoff we talked about at the beginning of the episode, this is the moment when everything you've envisioned starts to really materialize.
Yeah.
Your ideas, once just a spark in your mind, now have form and substance, and are starting to live and take on a life of their own.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's an amazing feeling when I think about some of the things that we've been able to do, right? In our own lives. So we started, I remember back in 2009, I wrote my very first children's book, right? We had a good time. Like, we put it together, launched, had a big launch party.
Yeah.
All the people was there. I think we had a couple of hundred people at the book release. Yeah, it was really good. And so so then we said, you know what, we like the experience and everything, but we wanted to be able to do that same thing for other people, created the same type of momentum for other folks. And so we did it. So we researched and found out how to do all of that. Well, in that process, now it's like, all right, how do we create this over and over again, this replicatable process for other people? So now we see that what that experience can be like for others. So being able to share it and show it to people, to help them understand, hey, we've been there. We know exactly what it is that you're going through. So we know the process. We have seen it. We don't want you to ever think that you doing something that we haven't walked these steps with before. We have. We understand. And so now every time that somebody else is doing this same thing, we know exactly what it is that you're going through. We understand it.
And before I move on, I think it's important to note that the process of the publishing company even got started, out of a somewhat less than positive experience, I would say. Was the reason why, or actually was one of the pushes that we felt like we could do it.
Yeah.
It's because, hey, not only can I do this myself, because I did have this, experiences. I'll call it a life lesson or a learning experience, a challenge, so don't look for always perfect situations and things. Sometimes creativity can be sparked out of a need, or you saw something, how you could do something better, or it could even be from a negative experience where you like, oh, I can jump in and help, kind of like ours was.
Yeah. You know what? I remember Apostle Horton saying to us, there's always a more excellent way.
Yes.
Sometimes what you might feel in an imperfection, it's not even that it was a bad experience. It's just there's always a more excellent way.
Always, yes.
And so we wanted to identify what is a more excellent way. And so with that, we were able to create something that now makes it better for other people. And so what you can do when we're talking about unleashing your expertise, how can you create a more excellent way for somebody else? And so one of the things that we know is great for people when you think about a manifestation, seeing something that started off as a concept, an idea, just some inspiration, actually moving into something tangible, physical that you can actually see. And it's like, oh my goodness, here it is, just like a baby being born, hey, that baby was in the stomach. At first it was a sonogram picture, right? Like you know what a sonogram picture looks like. Then all of a sudden you got this booming bundle of this bundle of joy. Then also all of a sudden that bundle of joy is talking back to you.
Yeah,
y'all know what that's like.
We've experienced that 3 times.
3 times, man. We love it though. That finished product is that manifestation, and that's what you can do. And so you can do that over and over and over again as a creative, as a creator, not only for you, but also for other people.
And then too, manifestation, it's really more than just the finished product. It's a proof of your commitment, your resilience and your creative power. It's also a reminder that with the right mindset and action, you can turn your ideas into reality.
Yeah, exactly. And manifestation is really the celebration of everything you put in the process, from the first spark of that inspiration to the actual actions you took, the challenges that you may have had to overcome, and the focus that you was able to maintain, where your dreams became the reality.
Yes. So as you go about your week, and as you move around, remember this journey, when inspiration strikes, capture it quickly. You got phones, you got notebooks or pencil, no matter which one it is, voice recorders, capture it. Document your ideas. No matter how messy they may seem, no matter how insignificant you might think it is or whatever you think it is, write it down, write your vision and make it plain. Then apply those ideas. Take meaningful action, and trust that with persistence, you'll reach that moment of manifestation.
Yeah, that's right. And we would love that for you to share your experiences with us. Tell us about a project that you're working on and moving forward. Reach out to us on social media. Feel free to email us and let us know about the journey that you're taking from inspiration to manifestation.
Okay. And remember, no idea is too small to document. And no action is too small to count. Every step moves you closer to realizing your vision.
Yes, and thank you for joining us on this episode of Expertise Unleashed. Until we meet next time, keep capturing your inspiration, keep taking action, and keep manifesting your dreams.
Yep. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoyed today's episode. We'll see you next time. And remember, some people are meant to build small businesses. Some people are meant to build big businesses. And some people are meant to build empires. Which one are you?